I don't know how many episodes they've done, but apparently
I
5 is
think this is
it.
like 70.
We're at 96 or something like that, but I'm
We're at
excited.
like 90.
I'm excited because today Amy's here, but also we have Julie Voris, who is a mindset and habits coach, particularly for women, and has a really cool story from teaching through group fitness coaching, and now coaches women, particularly business women in business, on kind of overcoming their limiting beliefs and do this. So I think that there's a lot of value that is going to be carrying through for everybody listening for all of the things that we might do. So I'm excited to have Julie with us today.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Hi.
Yeah. Awesome. So Julie, you have this, I wanted to kind of start you with this because you have this kind of signature message that is truth, love. So can you talk a little bit about all of that and why that is essential for women as they're kind of trying to overcome this, these kind of maybe limiting beliefs or mindset challenges that they have as they're trying to kind of overcome anything that kind of comes
Well,
across.
that is a really fun and great question to start. So fun. So a little backstory, as you said, I was a teacher. I segued into fitness. And when I segued into fitness, I started to sort of garner a reputation for like, we're just not playing around here. Like, you're going to come in and we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a really good time. And I'm going to coach you up. But you also got in your car and drove here to the gym to do some work. So we're going to do some work and have a good time while we do it. And then when the pandemic happened and 2020 happened, I kind of, I stopped teaching, of course, in person and would teach online. I did a lot of Zoom for like a year and a half, Zoom workouts, which is a whole nother beast. But I also showed up on Instagram live. And I found it to almost be a proxy, if you will, in a way for teaching group fitness, because I could still have interaction and I could still talk to people and I could still sort of pour into people what I've learned through the years, what I was learning from whatever personal growth I was doing from my workouts, it almost became like a stand-in for me for group fitness. And the women that I attracted, because I'm in direct sales, were a lot of direct sales women, a lot of entrepreneurial type women who are trying to get a business off the ground. And I would very often say the things to them that maybe their mentor or their coach wishes they could say, but maybe couldn't. It's kind of like parent versus teacher, when the teacher can say the thing, but the parent can't say the thing. But I could say the thing, and I could say it with love and from experience and with no BS, just like, this is why you're in your own way. And I'm a little older than a lot of the women who go into direct sales. My children are older. My daughters are older. So it gave me a little different perspective. And I would see in the comments sometimes, oh, I just really appreciate your tough love. And I'm like, it's really not tough. Like, I'm really not tough implies almost hard or mean, the way they were kind of using it, And I'm like, it's actually just truth love. I'm actually just telling you the truth, but I'm saying it with love because I really believe in the power and potential of women specifically. And that just kind of became my catchphrase. Like, I'm just going to give you the truth, love, because I'm just going to tell you the truth. I'm doing you a disservice if I'm not going to tell you the truth, but I need you to know that it's because I believe in you. So that's kind of how that phrase came about.
Love that.
I love it too. I think that that's a little bit of the vibe that we try to do here, which is like, listen, I'll get riled up on occasion, and it's
Those
usually
are my favorite occasions.
and it's usually because I'm like, you need to hear this, and you need to hear it directly, perhaps, because there's things that other people will beat around the bush to try to tell you, but I'm going to tell you the thing that you need to hear. I'm going to say it because I care and desire the best for you. So as you think about what are some of those kind of early messages, or the ones that kind of, I think, because there are oftentimes those things that we say over and over and over again, just with different lipstick on it, that have resonated for you, that people are like, this is the thing that, like, I needed to hear that today. Like, what are those things that you're like, hey, 3 things that women need to hear that in the truth love?
Well, one of my favorite mantras came from my dad. So not a woman, but from my dad. And he said it. And I think it resonates with me so much because he lived it. And when your child watches a parent not just say a thing, but do a thing, it's much more resonant. You know, I can tell you a million examples of stuff that my mom told me to do, but she didn't actually live it. That's called generational baggage. And we don't pay any attention to that, right? But when my dad would say this or that, and then he lived it, one of those was the power of showing up. Now, he came from very humble roots and was in the Navy for 40 years, both active duty and reserve. He was a civil engineer. And he just was one of those guys who just showed up and just did things. He just showed up. It didn't really matter if it was convenient or not. And I don't know if that was military background, if that was growing up on a farm, like wherever that came from. But I would watch him do that, so that I integrated that, the power of just show up. I don't really care if you feel like it or not. And because I'm in the wellness space, because I'm in the health and wellness space, I translated that to the women I would talk to. Like, I don't really care if you feel like working out today. That's not what this is about. I just need you to go do something, go move your body for 15 minutes, because you and I both know you're going to feel better on the other side of it. You're just going to show up. And by showing up for yourself and keeping that promise to yourself, you know you're going to feel better. But guess what? So is your family, so is your community, so is everything else that you're trying to do. So that was a message that really stuck with me as a kid, and that I've always carried. Like, you just show up. It really has, there's just no bearing on if you feel like it or not. And so many women kind of wander into their kitchen like, I just don't know if I feel like working out today. I seriously do not care. And I say that with love. I just need you to go move your body, because we need to make it such a habit that we're not having any kind of negotiations with ourselves. No one needs to go run a marathon every day. No one needs to go spend 6 hours in the gym. But as human beings, as animals, we need to move our body every day. We just need to show up for ourselves. And because my dad taught me that, what I also learned was the power of showing that to your kids. So something that I've learned and that I've shared often with women is you don't get to tell your kids that they can go after any dream, set any goal, be anything that they want to be if you aren't doing that yourself. And it doesn't have to be the same as what they want, right? You know, I have daughters with very big dreams and very big goals. And I'll use my oldest daughter for an example as an author. She's a writer. You know, she's got big dreams, big goals around writing. I don't need to want to be a writer. I did not need to show her how to be a writer. But the concept is, I needed to show up and be setting goals and working towards goals for me, for my life, to model that for them. And then they take that concept, integrate it into them, and apply it to their goals. You have no weight with your children if you're telling them to go and be and do, and you're not going and being and doing. And I got to be honest with you, a lot of women don't want to hear that. A lot of women don't want to hear that. And I had 3 daughters in performance-based passions. So I saw a lot of parents who would write a lot of checks and take their kids to a lot of things, and everything was about their kids. And I'm like, but what are you doing for you? Because at some point they're gone and there you are.
Right.
So that's another message that I talk a lot about, is just the idea, like, you better be showing up for you if you want your kids to be showing up for them. So sometimes people don't really, they're not very happy with me because it's the thing you need to hear, but you don't always want to hear. And it is different when it's coming from someone who's, I'm just a little bit further down the path than a lot of my colleagues, a lot of the women who are listening to me. My girls are just a little bit older, and they are out there doing really amazing things in the world. So it does, thank God, give me a little bit of street cred. I don't really like that. It doesn't have that much to do with me, but it is kind of nice that they're out there doing really great things in the world. And it's semi-due to the fact that they watched me and my husband, the both of us, set goals, work hard, show up, even when we didn't want to, do what was not convenient, align our actions and our habits, even when we didn't feel like it, with the thing we were working towards. And then that just became kind of part of who they are. And they took that and then applied that to their goals. So those are a couple of things that I talk about. And the other, Probably the other thing that I talk about the most is decision fatigue and the idea of decision fatigue and how women in particular contribute to that narrative of decision fatigue. Like we actually we are part of the problem. We are complicit in, hi, it's me, I'm part of the problem. We are part of the problem. And that idea of decision fatigue. And then we then get to the end of the day and wonder why we don't have any quote unquote willpower. No, that has nothing to do with it. It's the fact that you made 42,000 decisions about things that really had no bearing or importance on your life. There's so much that we spend time thinking about that's just not that deep. It just isn't. It's just not that deep. Wear black leggings. Stop buying colored leggings. They're all black. Take that decision off your plate. Wear white tennis shoes, black sports bras, a black top, and black leggings. Done. It's pretty easy to get dressed in the morning. There's a reason why Steve Jobs wore a uniform. Now, some of that energy that you would have spent making that decision, which is not that deep, can be freed up towards a conversation with your child or whatever else, a problem at your job, whatever else might actually be important. I talk a lot to women about so much of what we think about is just not that deep. There's a lot of deep stuff in the world. Let's be very clear. There's a lot of very deep stuff happening in the world. A lot of what we spend our time thinking about is not that deep.
Mm-hmm.
Amy, that was so much. I'm like smiling the whole time.
I'm writing stuff down.
Amy takes notes. Amy's a note taker.
You know what? Smart people take notes.
Yeah, she's a good little baby.
My whole work area is covered in sticky notes of things that Jeff has said that were like inspirational. Then I'm like, ooh, must look at that. I feel like a lot of this it's exactly right. It's what women or people in general need to hear. It's hard to hear. But we're telling ourselves a lot of this stuff all the time, but then at the same time, we're like, and we come up with some excuse as to why we can't do it. So like, I think about the decision fatigue. How many decisions do I have to make in a given day? Because I have, 3 jobs and a kid and a husband who, God bless him, he is so many things. But a decision maker about the home is not one of them.
Correct.
So he'll come to me and ask me a million questions. And I'm like, bud, you're a 44-year-old man. Like,
correct.
I'm pretty sure you can answer that.
Correct.
But then having to pause and have that conversation 100 times a day, I'm like, this is also exhausting.
Well,
this might be worse than just answering your question for you.
You know what cures that is 3 grown daughters, because there's nothing that keeps my husband more in line. It's not me. It's our 3 grown daughters.
That's awesome.
So the minute he'll say something, they're like, you're a grown man. Figure out how to feed yourself. And I'm like, yes. I don't, they take care of that. They have no patience for any of that sort of, I think they call it weaponized incompetence. They're like, no, we're not having
weaponized incompetence.
Yeah,
my husband has a bachelor's degree and 2 master's degrees. He's
smart.
Figure out how to make himself a snack, but he forgets that, and they do not let him forget that, which makes me really happy.
Oh, I love that. My girl's only 10, soon to be 11. But I feel like
she's like 15.
She's there. She's like 55.
That girl is, and she's also
she's
like 5 feet 2 inches tall at 10 years old or something like that.
I know.
She's huge.
She was walking next to me on our vacation last week, and John's like, she's almost as tall as you. It's like, you know what? She's taller than your mother and my mother and almost as tall as you too, so shut up.
I wanted to go here, Julie, because you said something about showing up for yourself and wanted to kind of get your take on, because this is something that we talk about a lot. I talk a lot about, which is, and I'm going to make maybe a proclamation here that is a generalization, but I think oftentimes you were talking about the moms who are in the setting that you're in, right? They're writing their check or whatever it is. And I think that there's maybe a comfort, or maybe not the right word, but like a natural thing where parents, particularly moms, kind of lose themselves in the identity of motherhood.
100%.
Very much so.
100%.
And how have you seen that then play itself out both within the time period where like real, kids are at home, but then also on the heels of it, which I think is oftentimes what happens, where it's like, hey, it's been 25 years that like, have you seen the show, what's the one, the Shrinking with,
it's so
Jason?
good.
So like, there's who's the wife? Who's the neighbor wife? What's her name? I forget what her name is.
Her line is my favorite line.
No, the mother there though, the neighbor mother who is like, my kids are out of the house, and she's like, for 25 years,
right,
I've just been mom, and she's like, I have my rocks. Like that's what she's got. Like that's her whole identity has been mom, and she's like, I don't really know what to do now. So I think that it plays itself out in both areas, but particularly within the context of like, I'm being mom now, like my kids are home.
Right.
How is losing yourself in that identity? How do you kind of see that playing itself out?
Well, I would go back to the fact that you can't tell your kids to go after goals and dreams if you aren't. You just have, there's no credibility there that and it doesn't matter what those goals and dreams necessarily are. No one has to want to build some multi-million-dollar business or whatever. But if you have nothing that you're going for outside of your children, how do you tell them? How do you coach them? How do you mentor them? How do you counsel them? Because you're not gathering any new experiences, and you have no weight with them. You know, it's a different story when I can talk to my girls about XYZ, because I'm also navigating XYZ. I'm also trying to figure it out myself. You know, my husband was a college football coach for 32 years. He dealt with 18 to 22-year-olds. So that's now he can talk to them about, well, this is also what I see. You know, if you forget that you are a human being person before you were anything else, you're doing your kids a disservice. You're also doing yourself a disservice, but most of the time, women will do something for others before they'll do it for themselves.
Absolutely.
So let me just remind you that you're doing your kids a disservice. And then what you're showing, particularly your daughters, is that should they choose to get married and should they choose to have children, that they too will lose themselves when that happens. And my daughters want no part of that in terms of losing who they are. They have big goals and big dreams, and it just doesn't occur to them that finding a partner and or having children of their own would ever be an and or. It's now it's an either. It's a
both and.
Yeah, it's a both and. It's not, I don't have to choose either or. I get to do it all. And I remember Josie, my middle one, talking about this in college. They were having some kind of discussion when she was in one of her college classes. And she said, I realized that some of these girls that were sitting in class were like, they wouldn't be doing whatever they're studying for after they got married. And she's like, it just never occurred to me that I wouldn't also be doing any of it, whether I got married or not. You know, so reminding yourself that your children are watching you, people are watching you. And if you lose yourself, you're training the next generation to follow that narrative too. You know, it's taken a lot of untangling to know, oh, I can do things different from my parents. Now, my parents had me when they were older. My parents had me when they were in their 40s, which was kind of an anomaly then, which I think probably gave me a different perspective than my siblings, because it was almost like there was an extra generation in between. I was an extra generation removed. So believe me when I say I carry a lot of generational baggage that we're still untethering, but some of the narrative I don't, because it was like there was an extra generation in between. So I just never thought I wouldn't be working, you know? I didn't know what I was going to do. I certainly didn't think. I grew up in a tiny little town. My options were be a teacher, be a nurse, or stay there and marry your high school boyfriend. So, I mean, there was some of that, but I also didn't ever think I was staying in my tiny little town. So I think I escaped a little bit of that narrative. But if we perpetuate that, if we in 2025 continue to follow that old narrative, that's what our children will do. And I think our goal as parents is we want our children to do more and better than what we were able to do. And they theoretically should, because they should have more tools, more experience, more, all of it, more than what we had. They should go on and supersede anything that we've ever done. So if you play small as a parent, that's what you're teaching your kid to do. Now, it's a whole other conversation when they leave home and you enter into empty nesting, which has been, I thank God I'm on the other side of it, because the past 4 years have been like absolute hell. And I am someone who had a thing, but I was so woefully unprepared about it. Why?
Yeah.
Because nobody talks about it.
Mhm.
God forbid women talk about it. So I was woefully unprepared for the onslaught of emotions that was going to happen as they went out into the world, doing the thing, by the way, that they're supposed to do, that I raised them to do. I was very unprepared for it, which also tends to hit women at the time where hormones are shifting. It's midlife. You might be perimenopause. You might be menopause. So there's a whole onslaught of things that women are experiencing. And really up to now, up to like 2024, 2025, no one was talking about it.
Right. Now it's everywhere, which thankfully.
Right. Now it's everywhere. So, but we're talking about the physical stuff. Very few women still talk about the mental stuff. And when your kids leave home, they'll ask you how your kids are doing, but no one ever asks you how you're doing.
That's
no
totally
one ever
true.
asks how you're doing. And no one ever asks the dad. They're like, Dad's fine. Mom's losing her mind, but Dad's fine. But we're not asking about mom. We just want to know how the kids are doing. Like, but could someone just ask about me? Because I'm losing my mind.
I'm going through some trauma here too.
So there's just a lot of stuff in there that continues to point back to women have to remember that we're human beings, aside from a spouse or a parent or whatever. And you had goals and dreams when you were a kid, and maybe those goals and dreams have shifted, have changed. But there's something in there somewhere that you have a vision for the life that you want to create, that you want to lead. And you probably need to be working on that as an ongoing project. It's really not a group project. It really is an individual project. But you probably should be working on that for the entirety of your life, because it really is your most important project.
When you were talking, you awakened this like deep memory from when I was in high school and I decided I wanted to be a teacher. And how many people, the first thing they said was, oh, that's so great because you can have kids and take the summers off. And then when you have kids, you can just stop teaching. And I'm like, I didn't decide I wanted kids till I was in my 30s. And I have one. She's good and stop there. But like, that's now, I don't think it registered at the time, but right now I'm like, weird thing to say to a 17-year-old.
Right. So that's like, deep in your psyche. That's deep in your psyche. And that's
it's now coming up. Like, what the hell?
Yes. Like, think about that. Like, that probably was deep in that psyche this whole time. Sort of playing itself out on a track. And that's what we do.
I mean, because we were just of the generation that, I mean, I can say of my group of friends from high school, all but one became a teacher because that was just, we were guided to do that. The one that didn't became like a record executive in LA and then worked for Condé Nast in Brooklyn. Like, she's super cool. She's super cool. Never married because she was like, I don't want to do that, which is great. She's happy. She's wonderful. But the rest of us became teachers, and now I'm out. Another one is out, and a third is on her way out. So it's just interesting.
It is. I mean, it's a weird narrative. We've all participated in it. We've all been a part of it. But until you really get aware of it, and I'll be straight up honest with you, I'm not really sure how I became so aware of it. It's not like I'm a unicorn or anything. And it's certainly not like my parents were talking to me about it. I just knew early on in my life that I wasn't staying in my small town. No matter what else I did. I knew early on, I knew that I wanted to have children. I really wanted to be a mom, but I also never thought I wouldn't be working in some capacity. I don't know why I thought all those things, but again, maybe it's the missed generation. I don't know. Cause my mom
Possibly.
didn't, she didn't work. I don't know, but I'm glad I had that somewhere in my psyche, because I think it helped me move into the field that I moved into and helped me with the way I think about raising my daughters. I also, again, I married a man who had an extremely time-consuming job, which required, I was already very independent because I was kind of like an only, because they'd had me
that long after.
So my brother and sister were in high school when I was born. Surprise! So I was already pretty independent. And then I married a man who had a very time-intensive job. which then required me to be hyper independent.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that all contributed to like, well, we got to be about our business here. Like I got to have something. The girls all got to have something. Like we're on a mission over here to kind of figure stuff out while he's over there doing his thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I think so it all kind of came together in this perfect storm that, your mess becomes your message, that now hopefully I can share some of my life experiences to help women just get out of their own way.
Mm-hmm.
The solo kind of parenting mode, because I was interesting piece of trivia, listeners might know. So I was a football coach for a long time, and I thought about when I was leaving teaching, because I was a high school teacher and a football coach, I was like, maybe I go and be a college football coach. And I had an offer to coach at UNH down the road, but this, like, you kind of need to start that at like 22 years old, because you're going to make $5,000 for 90 hours of work for 6 months and then move every year for a decade until you get a real job, sort of thing. And at the time I was 26 and married and like not 27. And I was like, all right, this is a young man's game. I can't play this game. And that's how I ended up where I ended up. But understand and appreciate the hours, right? So you were basically a single or a solo parent for
100%.
basically the vast majority of that time.
That seasons. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then there's recruiting. Like there's no off season for, and so I think that what you get into though is, I think that there's two ways that you get into that, where it's just like, hey, the kids are doing stuff, right? I want the kids to be doing stuff and doing stuff and doing stuff. But then it's very easy, again, to kind of get lost in like, I'm so busy. The kids' schedules are crazy, right? And for then again, now to be put on the back burner, which is like, hey, I'm just trying to keep the house afloat here. And this is coming from somebody who last week, I like, not to toot my own horn, my wife and my mother-in-law, they went to Disney for the week, and my parents are in Italy. And so it was me and my 3 kids. And you know what? We still have 3, and the house didn't burn down, and we call it a win.
You're capable. You're very capable.
I do feel, and I have been kind of the default parent, or the, for the bulk of my kids' lives because of my wife's work. But even that is like, holy Moses, like this is just a lot. And doing it for a week, I said it on the day that my wife, the last night that I put all of them to bed, and I was like 6 of 6, and I was like, if you're a single parent, like you deserve a hug or a pony or a medal or something. like this is just like unbelievable. So, but again, like primary caregiver, taking on the stuff, my kids want to do all of the things, but again, like on the totem pole of stuff, it's very easy to become last. So what do you say to the mom who's like, kids' schedule is so crazy right now, like I don't know how to show up for myself because I just don't have the time in the day to do it?
Well, I did get a piece of advice as a brand new baby little football coach wife, and that was from the man who was a huge influence on my husband, who was his college football coach, and his wife was just one of like this quintessential football coach's wife, just amazing.
Like Tammy Taylor from Friday Night Lights.
Knew everybody, knew everybody's name, just hugged everybody, knew, just amazing human being. And she said to me, the first year we were married, she said, you better have something for you. And she said, just like that. And I said, well, I teach. And she goes, yeah, that's fine.
That's work.
That's work. You better have something for you. And I'm like, that's interesting. And I never forgot that. And I think that little piece of advice combined with kind of what my dad taught me, just I always had something for me, no matter whether it was teaching high school when I was, and then we moved. I only had 1 year when I didn't work because we moved to Pennsylvania and I wasn't sure how long we were going to be there. So the thing that I did for me was, it was time to have baby number 3. I'm like, well, we're going to have baby number 3. That's for me. Let's go. So we did that. But we were only there for 1 year. And then I got into fitness, which then became the thing for me that I never expected to fall into. And that piece of advice just resonated with me and stayed with me my whole life. Like, you better have something for you. I also think women vastly overestimate what they can get done in a day, and or how much they actually have to do in a day. And they underestimate what they can do with their lives. We think we're so busy. We think we are. And a lot of us are very busy, especially if you are a single parent, you're working your job, you've got your kids. Yes. Are you also scrolling social media? Are you also watching a lot of TV? Are you also dinky dorking around in the bathroom when you're getting ready instead of maybe listening to a personal growth? Are you like, there's time in the day. You know, I used to tell my husband sometimes when he would go through a season, maybe he wasn't working out like he needed to. And I'm like, Barack Obama is leading this country and he's working out every day. So don't tell me you're busier than the president of the United States at that time. Like, don't tell me you are, because he can work out. So can you. I just think we get in our heads about how busy we are, and we like to win the busy award. I'm going to let my dog in while you're thinking about that. We like to win the busy award.
I'm writing it down because that was so freaking profound. A lifetime.
My favorite part about having guests on the podcast, Julie, is you can say something that I've said 17 times, and Amy's like, "This is the best I've ever heard." Just mind blown, which is my favorite thing. Which is why you bring people on, is because people get tired of my voice.
You sound like the teacher in Charlie Brown after a while.
It's been a lot of Jeff over here for a bit. The thing that you said to finish there, I think, is a huge. It's something that busy is not a state of being.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not a moment of pride.
No. Why do we decide that we're trying to win some busy award?
Yeah.
Here's the other piece of it that I don't know when this came to me, but this, I think I said this on some Instagram live. Sometimes things just come out of you and you're like, where'd that come from? But here it is.
90% of this podcast.
It just kind of comes out of you. And I was talking about being busy. I was talking about how busy is not, there's nothing to be awarded for being busy, and that we often use busy as an out for our lives. And my question to that is, why are you trying to find an out for your life? This is not a dress rehearsal. There's no do-overs here.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. So why are we trying to be so busy that we have an out for actually going after the life that we want to live? It makes no sense to me. I understand. We have fear, we have judgment, we have baggage, we have all that, but a lot of that is not that deep. It's not that deep. Why do we want out of this? We only get one ride. This is an e-ticket and you got one chance on it, and you need to be playing full out because this is it. Why are you looking for an out? And I think people use busy as the excuse why they can't do something, they can't go after goals. And really, they're just nervous or afraid or scared or whatever. Okay, so you're a human. Cool. How about we try something anyway? Because it's really not that deep. People are like, oh my God, everyone's going to be looking at me. No one's looking at you. Every time someone tells me that, every time a woman says, I don't know if I can build a business, everyone's going to be looking at me. I'm like, how many Instagram followers do you have? I have 120. I'm like, when you get 120 million, we'll talk about people who actually are watching you. No one's paying attention to you.
Yeah.
We're also concerned with ourselves. So just go and do the thing that you want to go and do in some small way. Just start small. My daughter, who I was talking about earlier, who's an author, didn't come out of the gate with some full-fledged published. No one took her book on the first time she submitted it to a public. We start small. She started writing when she was in kindergarten, so you start little and you start doing the thing. But why are you trying to make your life so busy that you get to the end of it and all you have left are wouldas, couldas, and shouldas? Because I have older parents. I don't have my dad anymore. I have my mom, who's 97 years old.
Whoa.
Yeah, take that in for a moment.
That's good. Whoa.
It could be, to your point, it could be, but there are people who are put in your life to teach you what kind of life you want and what kind of life you might not. And I have a 97-year-old example of the life I probably don't want to have. No goals, no dreams, just a lot of QVC. And that's not what I want, but I think that that's what a lot of people are going to end up with if we're not intentional and careful about it. We're going to get to the other side and the kids are gone or whatever. And we're like, I don't know what to do. And then we just stagnate as if we're too old to do anything. It's 25. Like you literally can do anything you want on these internet streets, like anything you want it, you want to do it. Someone out there has done it. And you can find the trail of it on the internet somewhere and figure out how you can do it too. There's just no such thing as too old anymore. Not now. It isn't.
That's good. Because there are days where I'm 43 and I'm still like, I can't start another new thing. I can't look for another new job.
I unsubscribe from that.
There are two halves of my brain. One half is the no, you can't. One half is the but why don't try? But then the other half is like, but you already have a job you like. But you already have a second job. You already have a third job you kind of like. So like maybe stick with those. I don't know.
I think sometimes that we also downplay our process. You know, when I get ready for a talk, there are people who rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, you know, hours and hours and hours and hours. And I just it sort of percolates in my brain for a while. And I'm like, I should probably be rehearsing. And I just don't. And then a couple days before I rehearse, and then I'm kind of in my zone. I'm kind of in my pocket. And it's taken me a while to go, oh, that's actually my process.
Yep.
That's not wrong. That's actually just
how you do
my process. This is just how I do it. So having lots of jobs because you're a multi-hyphenate, maybe that's just your process.
Yeah. There are definitely days where I'm like, I don't know what day of the week it is, so I don't know what I'm doing today. So I like actively look at a calendar like, okay, it's Tuesday. That means today's my day off. So, but tomorrow I'm at work at my campus from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. because it's a busy day.
But maybe that's the process.
It is. It's a good process. Keeps me busy, I guess.
When you think through those, because the process thing I think is interesting with the conversation that you had about the many decisions, right? Because I think that there's a lot of guilt associated with the process. What ought I be doing, right? Like I should be doing this thing. How should it look? What should I be doing? Right? Like
the should guilt is a real thing.
Right.
100%. Well, and even the look thing, right? So you talked about the clothes and the Mark Zuckerberg side of thing, but it's like, if I'm not put together this way, right, then I'm not looking like how I envisioned myself being as the mom, right? If I don't have this happening, then it doesn't look the way that it ought to look. And then we get that decision fatigue and kind of paralysis because of oftentimes the vision of what we think it ought to look like. So how do you start small with the decision fatigue thing, where all of a sudden it starts to feel, because I think we talk a lot about, there's a snowball effect to this, like motivation is a momentum game. And it's like, hey, we got to get some quick wins. So where do we start with the, like, hey, I feel paralyzed in doing the thing. It's like, okay, Julie, I buy in, want to do the thing for me. How do I start? Because even deciding on what the thing for me is can be another decision that can feel too big.
Yes.
To make the decision.
Like,
so
is it allowed to be something that is not a money-making venture? Can it just be something we enjoy? Or does that take away from our goals that, at least for my family, a lot of the goals have to be financial so that we can continue to, save money and send a kid to college?
I think it's not that deep.
Come on, Julie.
If someone is like, oh my gosh, I feel paralyzed and I don't know where to start, tomorrow morning, you do not hit the snooze button. That's where you start. Number one, no snooze. Just set your alarm for the time you actually want to get up. And call me crazy. Get up.
Get out of bed. Feet on the floor.
Because when people hit snooze, you're saying you don't want to get up for your life. And my question would be, why? Why do you not? This is it. Why do you not want to get up for why are you hitting snooze on your life? And if you tug on that thread a little bit and you start, well, I'm tired. I'm not did it. Okay, then let's work that back to what's happening the night before and talk about some logistical shifts that we could make for the morning. But there's a mental and emotional component in there into hitting snooze, that the chances are good that you're not super excited for the day in the life that you're waking up for. Mm-hmm. So number one, tomorrow we just don't hit snooze. Out of the gate, you've given yourself a win. You've now started the day with a win, which is huge because now you got the wind at your back because you've started the day with a win. And then maybe when you're in the bathroom, getting ready because you got to go in there and brush your teeth and put your contacts in and do whatever you got to do in the bathroom, you're listening to some personal growth. What you're not doing is scrolling your social media. Mm-hmm. Because the reason why we think we should be doing something, the reason why I think I should be rehearsing for hours and hours and hours and all the things is because I've seen someone talk about that on social media. So therefore, I think that that's what I should be doing. Mm-hmm. I used to think that I should have a new outfit to go teach my class in every week. I need to go to Lululemon and I should have something new to keep them interested and engaged. Who taught me that? Right? Social media.
Yeah, because they all look so good on these. Yeah.
Consumerism. You know, I should have that. No, I shouldn't. I can wear the same black leggings every class I teach in. Mm-hmm. And A, nobody cares. And B, it actually might be a relief for that woman walking in to think that she doesn't have to go buy something new as well. Mm-hmm. So the reason why we get all these shoulds is because of social media. So that means we need to curate what we're seeing and what we're actually taking in a little bit more carefully. A little bit more carefully. You know, I've really honed in so that when I'm on Instagram, I'm working, sharing, serving, trying to provide value, connecting with people. And the people that I do see, well, there's a lot of Disney because that's where I live. So I want to see all the Disney influencers, you know. I see a lot of Broadway, a lot of theater, a lot of New York City, smart people talking about smart things where I can learn. You know, I'm very careful what I'm seeing on my social media feed, but that takes intention and work. So the reason why we think we should be doing something is probably because we're seeing it on social media, and we're seeing it on social media because we're scrolling on social media to avoid doing other things in our life that would actually move us closer to our goals and dreams. Because those might be a little gritty. They might be a little hard. They might be a little uncomfortable because you might have to do a little work on your generational baggage to do those things. And so I'll just scroll on social media instead. And then we get to 97 and we're watching QVC.
Yep.
I'm just saying, like, we think that it's these little daily choices are not that big of a deal. I'm telling you, as someone who sees it play out in real time, they are a big deal. It is a big deal. It's a big deal if you're listening or reading personal growth every day. It's a big deal if you're not hitting snooze. It's a big deal if you're getting up and moving your body in some way. Not what you think you should be doing, but what works for you in this season of your life today. That you're drinking your water, that you're taking your supplements, that you're eating good food, that you're happy with the life that you're living. Like, these little choices add up to the life that you're living. And if you can string together a morning that feels good into a day that feels good, and you continue to string those together, the goal is to string together a life that feels good. But it starts with not hitting snooze. Literally, like, it's just, it seems so small and so silly. Don't hit snooze. Tomorrow, just set your alarm and then get up and listen to an audiobook, don't be on social media. And then maybe go drink some water and move your body a little bit. Maybe write down your goals. Like, just try and see if it starts to shift your energy and your mood in the morning. And just get curious about it and just explore. People will say, when I wake up in the morning, I take a shower before I work out. It's like, I get out of bed and I go and I take a shower. And it's like I'm cleaning off the night and the day before. I'm starting the new day fresh. Am I going to shower again later in the day? Yes, I am, because I live in Florida. Okay, yeah, I'm going to shower again. Okay, it's not that deep. So I'm going to take 2 showers in a day. Okay, it's really not that deep. But I go shower in the morning and before I go work out. And people are like, oh my God, that's so weird. I continue. I'm like, have you tried it? What if you just try it? Like, what if you just try it? What's the worst that can happen? And I'm like, just the concept of trying and being curious about stuff sometimes is so foreign to people. And I just what if we just try? What if we just try drinking some water tomorrow instead of a Diet Coke? What if we just try? I'm just saying try. And it's just interesting how, again, so much of what we give weight to is not that deep. It's not that we attach so much meaning to say it's not that deep. Just try it and see what happens, and start by not hitting snooze, and then start stacking those little tiny habits so that because at some point the day is probably going to get away from you. And if you front loaded your day with habits so that you front loaded your energy and your mindset, you're much more capable of handling it. The only way I navigated empty nesting was because of my habits. The only way. If I could the only way I navigated when my father passed away was because of my habits. If I could get myself up, drink some water, and go to the gym and take the 9:30 class, it did not matter what it was. It could have been anything. It did not matter. If I could get one to kindergarten, one to preschool, baby with me to the YMCA nursery, me take that 9:30 class every day. I didn't even think about it. Bring them back home, listen to Radio Disney, make some lunch, take a nap. By the time I got to okay, I can kind of navigate the rest of the day because I had front loaded my day with habits. Okay, so when the hard stuff happens, I can navigate it a little bit better because I've prepared myself for it. But if you just wake up and you're like, you're already running behind your kids and you're starting your day willy-nilly, it's tough to get on the front side of that. And then anything can throw you off. And now you're like, okay, well, I'll try again tomorrow. And then tomorrow the same thing happens. And then the next day the same thing happens. And then before you know it, you're 97 years old. This is how time works. It's wild.
Sounds like, so this is a concept that I've had a lot, Julie, that has been kind of my like brainchild recently, leading habits, which is like what you're talking about is like, so there's habit stacking, but leading habits of thinking about the game is actually won or lost hours or even a day or more in advance because of the decisions that you make. Like, why is it that you're snoozing in the morning? Is because you're not taking care of yourself the night before. Why aren't you taking care of yourself the night before? It goes back and back and back. So what is the one thing that I can do that have the disproportionate results on the other side of it with those habits where it's like, this doesn't feel that difficult, but it will have a disproportionate return on it. And so I wonder if you have a take on why is it that we don't try? Because you're like, when you're like, hey, just try, like, why is it that we don't try? Is it the should? Is it the fear of failure? Like, why is it that we don't try the thing? Like, this isn't going to feel how it ought to feel?
I think it's because the human brain is wired for comfort and safety. We're wired like caveman and to keep us safe from the bear that we haven't quite caught up with, that we don't actually have to worry about that anymore. So we're wired for comfort and safety. So that's like biological. So you're sometimes you're trying to sort of fight against what's sort of wired in your brain. And because it's wired in your brain, you're actually trying to create new grooves in your brain. It's also because some of the patterns and stories that you've both heard, integrated, and told yourself have been wearing those grooves in your brain for a very long time, maybe since childhood. So again, now you've got to patch up those grooves and you've got to create new ones. And that takes some time. And I don't think we're nearly as scared of failing as we like to act like we are. What I think we're scared of is succeeding. That's what I think we're scared of. Oh, I might actually accomplish my goal. And then what would everybody else think? Who freaking cares? I think we're much more concerned with actually succeeding. So let's take me, who I was not the first one in my family to go to college, but I was the first one in my family to go stay on campus, have the traditional college experience. My dad went after he had gone to the Navy. My brother lived at home. So I went to school. I lived on campus. I lived in a dorm. I was in a sorority. I was president of my sorority. I did the things that no one in my family had done that. I was the first to do that. I was a teacher. I then became an entrepreneur. No one in my family was that. I became an entrepreneur in the health and wellness space. No one in my family works out. No one in my family works out. I became the first one in my family to have 3 kids and to help them follow their pretty high level passions and dreams. No one in my family had ever done that. I became the first one in my family to live not where my family lives, to marry a college football coach. Like everything I did was sort of these firsts. And I was okay with that. But I think there are a lot of people who aren't. And they're afraid if they succeed or follow the thing that their heart tells them to do, or what, fill in the blank, that the rest of their family will judge them, look at them differently, and their family will tell them, "Who do you think you're too good for us now? You think you're too good for us now?" I can't say that there's not some of that in my family. I just don't care because they don't pay my mortgage or live my life. So I just don't care. But I think that more people are concerned with the fear of success and what other people will think than they are really with failing. They like to say fear of failure because that's more socially acceptable. If you said to someone that, "Oh, I'm just really afraid that I'm going to succeed," people would be like, "What?" But if you say, "I'm afraid of failure," "Oh, yeah, I get that. I understand that. I'm a perfectionist." "No, you're not. You're just a procrastinator." "No, you're not." Like we like to couch it into societal accepted terms. I just think really we're afraid of blowing our own minds. Quite honestly, we're afraid of blowing our own minds. Like, what if we did all the things that we were capable of? What if? How amazing would that be? But people are nervous about that. And, and we all are to a degree. It's not like I'm not. So I'm not saying that I'm not. We all are to a degree, for sure.
It's a little bit like the busy thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a socially acceptable answer to be
100%.
there.
100%.
Julie, I've loved this. I want to be mindful of our time, and honestly, I wish that I had like another hour with you. But
oh my gosh, Julie, can you move to New Hampshire?
Just
do you consider it?
The summer is lovely up here.
Well, June is lovely up here.
June is lovely up here.
October is great too.
Where you could though? You could come visit Disney.
I could. Yeah, my
Megan
wife was
just there.
Yeah, just there. Could have done it. But I want to do two last things to finish. So one, give us kind of a final truth love statement for anybody who's kind of listened to the last 50 minutes. That's like, hey, this is what I want you to take from this and go do. And also tell people where they can connect with you and what it is that you have to offer so that people can.
I would say to people, I would remind women especially, but anyone who's listening, first of all, if you've listened this far, like, well done you. Like, thanks for sticking around. I really appreciate it. I hope it's been semi-valuable, maybe giving you something to think about a little bit, different perspective or whatever. I would say as a reminder that so much of what we spend our time thinking about is just not that deep. And that when we live in 2025, we can see real things happening in the world that are deep. And it can be very easy to be consumed by all of that and think that we have to take all of that on and that, well, I just can't make a difference, so I'm just going to do nothing. And most of the stuff that we are stressing about in our life is just not that deep. So tomorrow morning, just start with not hitting snooze. Just start there. Give yourself a win out of the gate and do that for however long you need to do it till it becomes such a habit that you don't have to think about it anymore. And then add one other tiny little habit. There's a reason why January 1st is such a joke, especially in the health and wellness community. It's such a joke because the people are like, I am going to clean out every closet in my house and stop smoking and exercise 4 hours a day and only drink water and eat air. And this is what I'm doing. And it lasts 2 days because we try to do all of it.
Yeah.
Let's stop overestimating all of that. And let's just say, what can I do today that is almost too tiny to even measure? It's almost so minute that it doesn't even look like it's doing anything. I'm going to do that today. So I'm going to not hit snooze. And maybe the other habit is I'm going to drink a little more water. Like, it's so tiny. You're like, this can't have any kind of effect whatsoever. That's where we start. And we start getting intentional about what in our life is that deep and what in our life is not. Like, just start being a better observer and asking yourself the question, I do that to my husband a lot when we're driving, because in Florida, drivers are bananas. And sometimes someone will do something and gets a little frustrated. I'm like, it's not that deep. Like at the end of the day, we're all fine. It's not that deep, and really start getting intentional and discerning about what in your life really is that deep. And if you find yourself, because I've been in this situation before, where you find yourself getting all caught up in the drama and stuff that's happening and wherever you are, and all the drama and the relationships and he said and she said and all that kind of stuff. It's likely because you don't have enough of your own stuff happening in your life. Mm-hmm. You get real busy going after your goals and dreams. You just don't really have time for other people's drama. So if you find yourself being consumed with other people's drama and drama on social media and scrolling on social media, take a pause, take a beat, and ask yourself, wait, do I just not have enough for me? Okay. Okay, now I know that. Let's start thinking about that. It doesn't mean you go overhaul your life tomorrow, but just a glimmer of awareness can lead you to the next right habit, the next right action. And then you'll have to gut check. We all have to gut check ourselves every day. Hey, do I need to be spending my energy on this? What? And you get that awareness again, and then you kind of keep moving forward. I think the awareness is the key. Let's stop living our life on autopilot. Let's just stop doing that. And let's get really aware of where we're spending our energy and with whom we're spending our energy.
I love it so much, Julie. I love it so much.
Where can people find me? People can find me on the gram.
On the Insta.
I love me some Instagram. I really do. I know I talk about social media a lot, but I will say that through Instagram, I have met people like both of you that I would never have met in real life. Yeah. Like we would never have crossed paths in real life. And here we are because of social media. There's so much good and amazing stuff that can come from social media when it's used right. And that's why I continue to love Instagram. I just continue to be really, really intentional about how much I'm on it and who I am following. But I think it's a really lovely space to be in, a lovely space to connect. So I'm on the gram a lot. My website's just julievoris.com.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put both of those down in the description so you can go connect with Julie, particularly if you're a woman who wants to kind of get out of your own way and start doing it. Like Julie posts great stuff. And I appreciate you taking the time, Julie. Again, this is fantastic. I might have to have you back on another time, but this was fantastic. And appreciate y'all listening. Like, rate, subscribe, do all the things that you do with podcasts, and go connect with Julie. And we'll chat with you next time.